minutes late, but I want to be very respectful of all your time. I appreciate you coming out in this cold, rainy weather on a Thursday. It's Thursday night, but really appreciate you being here. So for those of you who may not know, I'm Congresswoman Jill Tokuda. Thank you so much for joining us for our town hall once again here at Wahiawā Elementary School. Principal Takashima, I'm not sure if he's inside or if he's right there, he's waving. Can we just give him a round of applause and thank him for allowing us to use this facility? It's a great space, so we really appreciate having this place to always be able to come to you and be able to hear from you. Just before I begin, a few housekeeping rules. The restrooms, if you need to do them, use them. It's right down the hall here. If you need any help figuring that out, please just find one of our staff members here. They can assist you, but it's literally right down the walkway on the left-hand side of that first building over there. We also have joining us tonight, which I'm extremely grateful. They're great partners for me at the state level. State Representative Amy Peruso is here. Amy, back there. You've got great representation. I work a lot on many, many different issues and concerns with her. Neighborhood Board Chair for the Wahiawā Whitmore Village area, Jeannie Ishikawa, is also here today. Again, grateful for the civic participation that we're able to have at the city and county level as well. And if we're joined by any others, we will definitely recognize them, but really all of you tonight here are our honored guests. So thank you for being with us. We like to keep this very informal if possible, just to be able to give you a chance to talk, to be able to share your questions and hopefully provide you with some answers. So it is an open mic form. Oh, this is better? Okay. Is this better? Okay, perfect. But it is an open mic. If anyone has any difficulties standing up for a period of time or getting there, please again just flag, just raise your hand for our staff and we will bring the mic to you as well, because we want to make sure that everyone has a chance to participate in the conversation. So I don't like to do too much talking in the beginning except to say that it is a very difficult time right now in Washington, D.C. Whether we realize it or not, we're actually in the midst of a partial government shutdown as we speak. We have, quite frankly, agreement on 97% of the entire federal budget, and we've passed pretty much every single department already, except for one, which is the Department of Homeland Security. They are in a shutdown mode. What is concerning about that is if you fly, and I just came back from Hilo a couple days ago, TSA workers will not be paid. FEMA is looking at various shutdown mechanisms right now, although they have funding that is appropriated by law to be able to continue disaster relief efforts and other activities, but they are being told that they are going into shutdown mode as well. You have the Coast Guard, you have CISA, the Cybersecurity Information and Security Agency. They are all shut down as well, but as many of you may know, the real contentious point is ICE and CBP, Customs and Border Patrol. And so there's a lot of negotiations going on right now in Washington, D.C. about what kind of guardrails and accountability should be put around that particular portion of DHS, and that's really what's holding up the ability for us to pass their particular budget. We have suggested an alternative bill as well to fund all other divisions under DHS and keep CBP and ICE separate so that can be negotiated while we allow the rest to be funded, but we haven't been able to get the majority to pull that forward for a vote. So it's a very difficult time, recognizing that we are in partial shutdown mode right now. And I serve on the Agriculture Committee. I'm the ranking member for the Committee on Biosecurity, Conservation, and Biotechnology. We go into Farm Bill negotiations on Monday. So very soon I'll be flying out for that. So that is up on the docket as well. I do serve on the Armed Services Committee and the Select Committee on China. So those are kind of my areas of jurisdiction. But one of the big things for me that many of you may know from coming to our previous town halls, I co-founded and co-lead the Bipartisan Rural Health Caucus. And that gives me the opportunity to work with over 70 Democrats and Republicans talking about access to health care, especially for our rural and remote communities. And I consider all of Hawaii rural, quite frankly, because to get to certain kind of care that you need, in many cases you likely need to get on a plane. So how do we make sure that no matter your zip code, you can have access to the life-saving, life-giving care that you need? And that's something that I work on quite vigorously in Congress with my Democrat and Republican counterparts to try to move things forward. So just saying all of that, but really, again, like I said, I want this to be an open discussion. So if anyone has questions and wants to go over to the mic and ask any, or if you have a difficult time, as I said, you can wave and we'll bring it to you. But we'd love, okay, it takes that first person to break the ice.
And you know it's going to be me, Joe, right?
And if you could just, for everyone, just state your name and where you're from so we can all be familiars here.
Welcome. Welcome back to Wahiawā, Joe. Most of you know me. My name is TJ Charisma. My roots are grounded deeply on the North Shore in Haleiwa, but I now lay my head each and every night here in Wahiawā. So thanks to Cherry Shikal for being here. I am also the vice chair of the Wahiawā Whitmore Village Neighborhood Board. So hope to see you guys on Monday, 7 o'clock at the gym, at Whitmore Gym. But Ms. Tokuda, Rep. Tokuda, I wanted to ask, I know that you are a staunch supporter of continuing to get funds for our SNAP and other programs that have been affected by the recent cuts. Can you tell us where exactly we are, where, more importantly, where you are on helping to keep our families fed and, of course, healthy?
Yeah, no, thank you for that question. So some of you may know that the Big Ugly Bill contained about $200 billion in cuts to SNAP EBT. It put in place new work requirements that individuals would have to have. If you have a child that is above 14, you know, now you have to do these work requirements or community engagement, which is very tricky and the rules aren't really clear, to be very honest. And so bottom line, they're making that $200 billion by making people ineligible, if you really, really think about how they get to that math. What it also did was put more of a burden on states to pay for the program. So it went from a 50% administrative cost share to a 75% cost share. Now that may not sound like a lot, but for Hawaii, that's really gonna add up. And if your error rates are above 6%, which a good majority, vast majority of the states are, you have to pay now a percentage of the benefits. That's never been done before, a portion of the benefits. So to give you an idea what that could mean for Hawaii, let's say we even have about a 6%, 7% error rate like we do right now, and we have to go up to a 75% cost share. We could be looking at around $100 million more every year that the state would have to pay out to keep the SNAP program running and benefits being provided. For some states, it's even higher. It's hundreds of millions of dollars that they will have to pay. And when we've talked to experts about what could that mean, I've asked very pointed questions. Do you think some states might just say, I can't pay at all, and nobody would get SNAP benefits? And they said yes. There are some counties, there are some states that are looking at the financial reality that they just can't afford it, and they will just drop out of SNAP EBT. So what that would mean is no one in that state or that county would be able to get food money. And this is supplemental, as we know. This is not covering the whole cost of meals. They would not be getting that money because they simply could not afford it. So one of the things we're gonna be pushing for come Monday when we start Farm Bill negotiations, because all of those nutrition programs fall under the Ag Committee. The House Democrats actually have put out an alternative proposal. And one of the things we're pushing for is a 4-year delay in all of those different state cost shares, so that states aren't going to be put in that position where they have to decide, can I afford $100 million or more to make sure people can eat? And will allow that to, you know, be one of the things taken off the table. I would like to cancel all the $200 billion in cuts, but most immediately we have to take away that cost share provision on the states, the portion that would force them to pay for benefits if they have an error rate. And like I said, almost every single state has an error rate. And so that's what we'll be pushing, is a 4-year delay. It's actually supported by both Democrat and Republican governors. The National Governors Association is pushing for this proposal and has asked for a 4-year delay for this as well. It will cost billions of dollars, yes. But I think if it's about $28 billion that they're saying that it might cost for this 4-year delay, making sure hungry people eat is worth it. So that is one of the most direct things we're doing immediately to try to preserve that the SNAP program.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. I just wanted to leave you with this question. So I'm not sure how many of you know about the Cow Cow for Keiki program. It comes from a USDA grant that the Hawaii Food Bank gets, and they partner with agencies on the island and throughout the state. Are we going to be losing that USDA grant? Because what Cow Cow for Keiki does is it feeds those keikis that are in, for right now, in our area, any keiki that is in the 96786 zip code, and they are in a school, they get 9 weeks throughout the school. Each week, the Hawaii Food Bank, with a grant from the USDA, actually gives shelf-stable food and fresh produce for 9 weeks. So if you've got 4 keikis, you've got 4 boxes of shelf-stable food and 4 bags of produce. How can we ensure that the USDA continues to get that funding? Because for our community, and I've been there for every single one, how can we ensure that the USDA does not lose that funding for this very important program that feeds our keiki?
Yeah, no, thank you. The Cow Cow for Keiki program is, I've been to multiple drives and handed them out throughout the state, you know, and you see people's eyes when they come and get the box. And I know for some families it's hard to admit, I need help. At the same time, they realize their kids aren't going to get nutritious food unless they're able to partake in this program, because it's good local produce, it's proteins. There's even recipes a lot of times of how you can stretch this to make this a meal for your families, for breakfast, lunch, and for dinner. Things we take for granted a lot, but if we actually took the things that come in that Cow Cow box and went to the grocery store and tried to buy it ourselves and look at the receipt at the end, most families can't afford that. And so we're fighting for programs like that. I've been asking the food banks and the program providers, give us real life stories about how they've made a difference. Because one of the first things that happened last year, I think it was March or April, they cut $1 billion from the local food producers program, which funded school pantries, it funded supplemental food to go to food banks, that our farmers and our ranchers are actually growing and helping us to get that to our plates and our tables. That $1 billion hurt Hawaii. It really did hurt Hawaii. So we are fighting to preserve programs like Cow Cow for Keiki, and we are fighting to make sure that we can continue to get nutritious food to our families and our students who need them.
Right on. Mahalo so much.
Thank
But
you.
holomua kako, together we go forward.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Thank
Rep.
you.
Tokuda.
Other questions? Okay, wait, we're gonna bring you microphones. Oh, you have a list? Okay. I can trade mics with you here. If you can just say your name and where you're from.
Okay. Can you hear me? I'm from the Kaneohe side. My husband was in the military and the department. I'm going to cry because my issue is Camp Lejeune, and you probably don't know about Camp Lejeune. I lost my husband, and I lost my son. I lost my husband in 2023, and my son 9/11 of 2024. They were both Marines. I do have a Facebook page because they are trying to control the narrative of what they talk about at Camp Lejeune. But now I just found out, because I was in the Army Reserve, and I went to Fort Jackson and Fort Benning, the firefighter foam was in that water. I no longer have a thyroid. I've had open heart surgery. I've had 8 heart ablations, put-in-mind intestine gone in 2023. I had a mini stroke in 2023. And people go, oh, you don't look it. That's because I'm not going anywhere till I get justice for my family. My husband was in the Marine Corps and Department of Defense for 44 plus years. My son was a firefighter at Wahiawā for 28. He retired and he's now with the police department. And then my other son was in the Marine Corps, and I did my time as a military spouse and as in the reserve. I went to jump school and stuff. And I feel like the government, my whole family gave up our lives for the government. And I have nothing to show for it except one son now. And they passed the PACT Act and said, okay, they put aside money. We don't have any money yet. I had VA rights for my husband that I fought for. It took me 13 years to get them. And they're still not paid out. And what they told me was they wanted me to be interviewed for what's called a bellwether. I don't know if anybody knows what a bellwether is. Because there's no precedence to Camp Lejeune, and they're going about it, pardon my French, ass backwards, because they want to find the worst people, settle with them, and everybody below that gets scraps, right? And to me, if you drank one glass of that, you should be going this way with those benefits. So in order to be in the bellwether, they told me, and I had to call both my sons because my husband had just died, and that I had to release all his other illnesses just to do the kidney one. And so I talked to my children, they wanted to do that. I interviewed for that with this panel of attorneys on the DOD side and on the civilian side, you know, the other lawyers that doing the fight. But anyway, I had to interview for that. That was in 2024. September will be 2 years. Nothing. I think they're waiting for all of us to die. I'm sorry, I really do, because they haven't paid out anything. And I'm sorry, something should be done. And I'm looking at you, and I'm looking at the senators and stuff in Congress to do something about it. We passed the act. Where did it go? There's a committee out there, and they're fighting over, well, if you got poisoned, did you have that? Did you have that? I just told you what I had, what I have, and I'll be 71, and I'll be damned if they're going to kill me before I get justice for my son and my husband and my other son. We all have heart conditions. They want to go past that and stuff. I want something done, Jill, and I'm holding you accountable for it. I want something done. And the other thing is, when I roll past that, they're suing for Fort Benning and Fort Jackson, but they're suing the chemical company so they don't get caught in the bureaucracy of the government, which I think is sickening as well. So if we're going to poison our military, and there's a huge military presence here in Wahiawā, and a lot of this island has a huge military presence, and I've lived on this island for over 30 years. I've got grandchildren who go to Kamehameha. I've got a granddaughter a daughter-in-law who teaches at Kamehameha. So we have done our time for the government and for the community and stuff to be treated like this. And I want something done. I don't know if anybody here has had anything to do with Camp Lejeune, but I can give you the whole story of what I've been through, and I don't like it. And the other thing, Jill, is that the Airbnb. I live in my house, and when my husband was terminally ill, that was how I had extra income. That's how I had extra income. But I live in my house, and I live on the water, because God granted me a very nice house there. You know, it wasn't much when I got it, and we fixed it up. But there's nobody behind me. There's nobody in front of me. I have 3 parking stalls. I'm not in an HOA. I don't have neighbors. I have my own stalls, and it's on the main highway at Kamehameha from the boat harbor there. And they tell me that I can't do it. That was the only means of income. I can't even pay my mortgage right now. I can't pay my mortgage. You know how much I can show you my bank account? I have $88 in my bank account today, and I have to make that last till the 1st because I get a widow stipend and I have my VA, and they're fighting me about that. And I'm going to tell you, I was sexually assaulted in the military too. I'm sorry. He's my support. My son couldn't come because he doesn't like to talk about it and stuff. But I should be able, because I had a massage, because I'm on a massage license, and I had a room in my house that I was allowed to do massages in. And then the woman down the street, she can do her hair in there. So why can't I take one of my rooms that I'm able to do, because I can't go out and stuff because I have to take care of my husband? Why can't I take one of my rooms and treat it as like I'm showing people from other places? Because I did it for a while. It was our extra income. They've taken that from me. They've taken everything I got, and I can tell you, a widow stipend, I get $2,000 a month for my husband dying and doing that long in the military. And if I told you what they did to me when he died, I'm just going to give you an example. Oh, I'm sorry. When my husband died, he died January of 2023, and he got paid because he was so sick. I had to fight really hard for his benefits, and I went to bed during the month of January, and I had $5,000 in my bank account. My mortgage takes that almost. And I woke up the next morning on Saturday, I had $259 in my bank account. And I thought somebody got into my bank account and stole it. But what happened was, because he died in January, I wasn't entitled to that money in his name. So they went into my bank account and took that money out. They didn't tell me or anything. They just took it. They took it. And I said, so why did you take it? Well, I'm entitled to it, but I have to do paperwork to put it in my name. I have to file paperwork. And I can't file paperwork until I have the death certificate. And getting a death certificate in Hawaii, 12 weeks. Then he got his Department of Defense retirement, which I'm entitled to. He got that. This was in the middle of the day. At 9 o'clock, I had $800, and I had to pay for my husband's cremation to put him in the National Cemetery wall. And somebody gifted me $500, so that made $13. 9 o'clock, I had $800. and the 5 that was mailed to me. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, zero. I had zero money. Department of Defense went in and took that retirement money back out. I had no money. I couldn't pay for my husband's cremation. I had no money. And I couldn't get any of my benefits or anything without the death certificate. I finally had the...
One of the things I would suggest,
Oh,
if you have a situation like this, call our office first. And I don't know if you reached out to one of the members of Congress.
There's so much different.
But I know.
Yeah.
But a lot of times this is a great segue into, take a look at that paper you have right there. Contact us. I can't tell you how many calls we get about death benefits, the administration, the approval, that is something I would definitely recommend that you do. And I will tell you, in the National Defense Authorization Act, we are continuing to push. The PACT Act to me was the floor. There's so much more that we have to do for veterans, for service member families that were exposed, also to the waters of Lejeune. When you look at PFAS, they're not just poisoning it on U.S. facilities. We know even globally, Okinawa and other places, we know that there's heavy PFAS contamination. We've got to start looking at making sure that we can drill monitoring wells and test sites as well, so we fully know the impacts of a lot of this. So this is where I want you to just talk to us offline later. We will follow through, because you're absolutely right. It's an imperfect system, but that's why many of us who serve on the committee have continued to talk about the integrity of the PACT Act and making sure that we are following through on that responsibility. But honestly, like I said, it's the floor, because the PACT Act was the barest minimum of recognition. The fact that we were in fact poisoning and exposing, service members for so many generations. Absolutely. So let's talk about your situation on the side. I appreciate you being willing to share all the personal stuff with everyone here. But that is something I think you need more attention and time. You need, a caseworker, and we're going to have somebody help you individually, like we did with the last thing. But there's clearly more that we've got to do to work on this situation. But thank you for sharing, and know that these are the kinds of discussions that we have a lot. These are the amendments we put forward. I put a number of amendments forward for PFAS and other things in the Defense Authorization Act. It may not pass, but we are pushing for these things. So thank you for your bravery and for what you've gone through. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Teresa Duff, and first I'd like to ask every veteran in the room or active duty service member or family member of a military member to raise your hand or stand. Hey sis, look around the room. You are not alone. It's okay. Every veteran in this room, any military member, any family member of a military member, could you please raise your hand or stand? Please raise your hand. Thank you. You are not alone. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that your situation is not unique. And I have heard stories from across the nation in my work with other veterans, nonprofit circles, that your situation is not unique, but we've got to find a way to fix it. I'm here to speak on the Service Women and Women Veterans Menopause Research Act, HR 2717. It requires the DoD, or Department of War, and VA to develop strategic research and understandings of menopause and midlife women's health. This is particularly important to me because I have come to the point in time where now I am a woman of a certain age. But as research has come out and we've discovered that our MREs have been tainted, I don't know if you've seen those reports, tainted with pesticides, animal medications, and heavy metals. Anyone that has eaten MREs for greater than 30 days is at risk for cancer, kidney disease, thyroid issues, and other endocrine issues. The other one is the HR 219, Improving Menopause Care for Veterans Act. It requires the Government Accountability Office to study and report on the medical services furnished by VA for veterans experiencing perimenopause, genitourinary symptoms of menopause, and menopause stages. Why is this important? It's because women with PTSD due to MST or just being in the military is linked to almost twice the odds of early menopause before the age of 45. This is not on par with our civilian counterparts. However, it is on par with military spouses. And these are things that at our local VA, which I raised them up, okay? Our VA is doing a fabulous job. And the only reason someone isn't getting care is because they aren't going. They aren't asking for it. They aren't advocating for themselves. We recently have a new center, I think it's the Akaka Center, and they have a bone density testing thing that just came out. It's in and out. You can get your appointment tomorrow if you wanted to. Well, I don't know that. I'm just saying that's what my situation was. But they are bringing us onto parity with the San Francisco VA, which has been the leader in gender care for reasons beyond
Absolutely.
menopause. Also, I have strong concerns about the rumblings of what's going on with Iran. Here at home, we have so many problems, not just in the veteran community, but also feeding our children. They have basically gutted the USDA, and they're moving key personnel in the USDA to these different hubs around the country. How are they supposed to focus and work? One of my dearest friends works for them, and she says she once had a group of like 45 people that worked for her, and now she's got 8 doing the job of 45. And also she's got other teams that report to her. She still doesn't know where she's moving to. So I just want to thank everyone for their time and for being here.
Thank you so much. Let me get later on from you the number of the first bill, but I'm pretty sure I'm a co-sponsor of that. I did sign on to HR 219. When we deal with menopause, perimenopause, it's really critically important that we make sure that we recognize that these are needs that women have, whether it's the VA, whether it's in the Defense Health Agency, whether it's in private sector and civilian life. There's a number of us as women serving on the Armed Services Committee, but also as the Women's Caucus that are really pushing to make sure that that is at the forefront, because we even know there's hesitation among the medical community. So they need that information, we need that access as well. So Um, def- yes, yes. So thank you for that. And Iran is a concern. Next week, we will be likely having a bill up on the floor for a vote, trying to limit the war powers of the president when it comes to Iran. As you know, we had a vote on that on Venezuela. It failed to pass the House. Sadly, we, couldn't actually pass that, which is crazy when you think about it. But I'm very hopeful that we will find success in pulling back that power that is with Congress on war powers on Iran this coming week. But we are in a very dangerous place right now. There's negotiations, that's great. But negotiations coupled with an increase of military assets in the region, that could be looked at as provocation as well, right? It just puts us in more danger that something could happen, even if it's a mistake, but that could set us right into war at that point. So share your concern about that. And the one big concern I have, USDA and so many other agencies, we've lost hundreds of thousands of federal employees to be able to do important work, whether it's making sure people are fed, benefit checks are cut, you get answers to questions that you have. You can't do it with AI. It takes humans. And that is my big concern, that the deferred resignation program, which ultimately led to people leaving, choosing to leave or early retire, when they got rid of all those probationary employees, then they tried to rehire them. Some people didn't come back because they said, I want some security, that I need a job. Just these waves of long-term shutdowns. Many have walked away from careers and jobs. It has culled our workforce and taken away a lot of the human people power that we need to make sure you get answers, you get support and services delivered to you as well. And so, I often ask that question, how are you able to even get someone to answer your phone call? A lot of times you can't. And that's why, please, again, call our office if you're having difficulty even reaching a human to help get your answer or your concern addressed. So, but thank you for all of that. Thank you for your service.
Aloha, good evening. My name is Joe Casali. I am a Haleiwa resident and a 20-year Hawaii resident now. I am also a retired veteran, disabled veteran, been coated head to toe in aqueous film firefighting foam as well, so I have that to look forward to in my future. But my question and comment is not about specific VA benefits or anything like that. It centers around what appears to be the collapse of democracy and the rise of fascism inside our country. I am very concerned with what I'm seeing, masked, unidentifiable Gestapo in our country, grabbing people, asking for their papers, taking them hostage, putting them in whatever sort of camps we're spending taxpayer money on in this country to create. America does not have a history of doing the right thing all of the time. I think Hawaii knows that especially. So trying to move forward to do the right things to continue to have a functioning democracy is something that is very important to me, important to people that I know, important to all of us. So, two parts to this question. One, what is Congress doing to take their power back to ensure that we have free and fair elections this year in the midterm elections? And then what steps will we look at when we eventually have this fascist regime that has implanted itself in the executive branch and is not going to leave? What are we going to do to take that back? That's my question. That's
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for your service. And yes.
I'm still here if you need me. So.
No. Thank you. I agree with you. I never thought. I remember when I first got into Congress and I was serving in the state Senate. Even if someone had told me that our elections would be in danger of a hostile federal takeover, I would have said, no, that won't happen, right? That won't happen. Fast forward to today, and I can't say that with 100% certainty, that we are not in a situation where they would love for that to happen. They are literally paving the road to try to get that to happen in the 2026 and 2028 election. Our democracy is absolutely on the line. Absolutely on the line. And not just at the midterm election, the presidential election, every single day. We have got to stand up and defend democracy against fascism that's taken the highest seats in office in our country. It's a really, really terrifying and scary time. And what we need Congress to do is to have the guts to do the right thing. And we're not asking for a whole lot of them to be brave. We're literally asking right now for about 4 of them to find their heart, to find their spines and courage, and do what is right. The fact that they can only muster that up when we're talking about the Epstein files or Canadian tariffs really worries me. They did find it for that and an ACA extension for 3 years, but this only went as far as the House, right? Epstein went all the way, but the other 2 didn't clear the Senate at all. We need the Senate to find some courage as well. But what are they going to do about standing up for state and local government to be able to run their elections without federal intrusion? That's what we should be doing. The fact that I need to ask my staff, is there a bill right now to protect elections? To basically follow the Constitution? There isn't one. There isn't one. Well, we need one. We need one right now to say we will not stand for a federalization, a nationalization of our elections. And if you think of both parties, like throw parties aside, no one has ever wanted that. Not Republicans, not Democrats. As people living in a democracy, this was a tenet that we always respected and we looked to. And so now it's crazy, but I do have to look at, do we need a bill to actually state the obvious? State the obvious, that there will not be a federalization of our elections. Simple bill. Follow the Constitution. Follow the law, right? I think I'm going to have to do that and introduce it and see who will sign on and be brave with me to say, hell no. They will not interfere with our elections going forward, because I share your fear that that is what they are trying to do, to create enough instability, to try to create enough doubt in people's mind, literally digging up files in Georgia warehouses and pulling them out from 2020. The fact that, yeah. Again, it's crazy that we're doing bills to state the obvious. But right now, we need to really see where absolutely everyone in Congress stands when it comes to following the law, the Constitution, and doing what's right for their constituents. So that is something that I've been looking at. The fact that we've done our research to look, has everyone else put this bill forward? Because it's so basic, they haven't, and I think it's time that we actually put that bill forward and really push hard to get it heard or get it discharge petition, get it pulled to the floor for a vote. But that is something I share your concern about, and something Congress should be doing right now. And what steps are we taking? We should already be planning. The first 5 basic things that we need to do to secure our democracy and reinforce our adherence to the Constitution and our separation of powers. We should already be thinking about what we are going to do the moment we see a change, whether it's flipping the majorities, taking back the White House, all 3, whatever it is. But we can't wait. And quite frankly, to me, we should already be pushing those bills and pushing those actions forward, working that muscle, making sure people in America, in this country, and Hawaii understand what's at stake and why we need to do what seems like the most basic thing, and reaffirming the values and the words of our Constitution. But we have to codify it now again and again to make sure no administration will do what's being done going forward in the future. So thank you for that question. And yeah, my staff's looking at me and I'm like, yep, we've got that bill coming. We're working on it. There's a lot of things, but we have to really, we've got to protect our elections. And that's the most basic thing we can do, is protect our right to vote. So thank you.
Hello, ma'am. My name is Lawrence Fuller. Like the gentleman before me and the lady, I am a veteran also. And you took my sting away from me. I was going to ask that question when I reserved me coming here. For years, we always taught that the Constitution gives us rights, whether it's freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of assembly. Then you see administration come in. It's sad to say that you have to put laws in place to guarantee those rights when administration supposed to come up behind you and say, we protect those rights. Yeah. But we don't see that now being done. But my question is now, though, most veterans might know already. They came out with a rule about how they changed our veteran benefits by the disabled. Like, say for example, a lot of veterans like myself, not disclose what I have, but you take medication throughout your life. Even if medication leave, I have to discontinue the medication. I still got injury effects, but they're trying to come up with a bill now. The VA Secretary Collins said they paused it. It shouldn't have been a thought anyway. But take away veteran benefits, they still have it. Even though you take medication for certain issues, you still got the disability. It's still attached to you. They want to send us to all these wars, through these foreign lands, do whatever, whether we're going to go to Iraq or Venezuela. Somebody got to go. Then when we go, only thing we ask them when we come back, they still take care of us. And some stuff, long when the guns are silent, I still got to feel those effects. And that's what something I don't understand. And it's in that, a lot of people may not be aware of Project 2025 before they came out with it. What they're doing now, actually on page, I think 648 and 650, what they was going to do. So the whole thing, this whole administration, they had it planned out. I guess my thing is, why hide it? If you're gonna mess with me and screw me up, I'd rather you tell me the story, hey, what we're coming for you, instead of hide behind shadows, then they come up later and say, okay, we're doing. I got more respect for them if they say, hey, we're gonna screw you. I might not like it, but at least tell me from the start with it. Especially veterans, because we earned all those benefits. I'm sure every veteran here would probably still say we earned those benefits. Yeah. And finally I say, I appreciate y'all doing the hard questions. I know y'all the minority now, but I appreciate y'all doing the hard questions. See, Head I know Head I worked with Head back in 2005, so I know him. Even though he's not qualified, but still, it is what it is now, but I appreciate y'all doing those questions, asking hard questions. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lawrence. And reach out to us. Again, and I'll just say this, if you're having any issues, there is no reason that you should be denied any benefits. Yeah. There shouldn't be takings. You served your time, you sacrificed, you gave everything for your country. It's the least we can do is to provide you with support and services.
I think
after your service.
It has got a lot of work. It's a burden, undue burden. We supposed to get up undue burden that a lot of us don't really necessarily need. Yeah. Burden worried about if I got benefits today, tomorrow they might come home and take it away and struggle with pain.
Yeah. Well, they shouldn't be taken away. You deserved, you earned every bit of it. I can tell you that with the dojing, they went after VA. And we stood up for that as well. And that still left a mark though, because people that they fire, professionals, whether it's nurses and doctors, therapists, once you're fired, you're gonna go find stable employment. And sadly, the federal government doesn't look like stable employment. The VA doesn't look like stable employment. I had a doctor, the husband of a doctor tell me she applied to be a physician at the VA, which we need a lot of those. And then she saw what was being done with the dojing, and she decided to withdraw her application, and she applied somewhere else. She's working at a health center. But again, some of the very best that can provide service to those who are our very best and served our country are thinking twice about whether or not they're going to go into the VA service. And Project 2025, it's a very big book. It's really scary reading if you ever pick it up. But they seek to privatize VAs. And that will not be good. I promise you. That's not about saving money. And if they save money, it's on the backs of our veterans. So sadly, the agenda was all there in front of us, and they're rolling out those things. But we've got to stand up and be that wall against any cuts and takings to the benefits that our veterans, their family members deserve and should be getting. So if you're not, call our office and we'll fight like hell to try to make sure that you get, whether it's medication, whether it's services, recognition of your disability, all of those basic things. So, yeah, but thank you. And we do see where they're trying to go with this. We're gonna fight to stop it. So. Scary reading, not just page 640 to 650. It's scary reading. Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tracy Dixon. I live up on Glen Avenue. I'm also a veteran, 28 years. But one of the things I want to say is that we should all read our history and remember that after World War I, the veterans were promised a bonus. The bonus marchers marched to Washington, D.C., and the Republican administration had a saber charge on horses to push them back across the Anacostia Bridge and denied the benefits that they were supposed to get. So this isn't the first time in American history where Americans had to stand up and fight for what they think are their rights and what the government owes to them after what they did for the government. And my question is, beyond writing letters to you or to Brian Schatz and all of our Democratic representatives in Washington, what can we do? What can we do to fight what's happening? What can we do to fight Project 2025? You know, from here, from the ground in Hawaii. You know, what can I do? That's what I want to know.
Thank you. Thank you, Tracy. And I appreciate your citing history, because right now there is a lot of moves to rewrite and erase history as well. And if we think Hawaii will be passed over and we won't see it, we absolutely will, and we have that potential that it will happen here too. You know, my great-grandfather was taken from Pu'unene on Maui, taken to internment camps in Honolulu, close to here, then Sharp Park, and then last in Santa Fe, while his son, my grandfather, was serving the military intelligence service for a country that saw him as an enemy alien at the same time. And right now, we literally have signage about internment camps across our country coming down because they're somehow un-American, because they don't show a flattering history during our 250th anniversary, and yet that is an ugly part of our history. It is a mistake made, but it's a mistake we are making again if we don't learn from it. And Fort Bliss is one place that has been both an internment camp to Japanese and now is one of the biggest detention centers for ICE in the country. Again, we have not learned from history and the mistakes made, but it's proof that sometimes we've got to fight and fight again and fight again for the most basic recognition, rights, decency of law, every possible thing. But that history is really important here as well. You know, and I've been to natural resources committees and spoke out to the Architects of America 250 to ask them if they'd be real patriots. Real patriots believe in justice, and we would tell the whole American story that includes internment camps, that includes the illegal overthrow of the Hawaiian Kingdom, that includes slavery, that includes so many parts that may not be flattering to our history, but nonetheless is a part of our whole American story. It also needs to include how we have treated veterans. If you look back at the history of over 250 years, how we've treated those who have served us is not a great look. It's not a great story. And to me, to be true to our history and our celebration of 250 years, we have to recognize both the faults as well as the triumphs. And the stories of our veterans and how we have to then make good on of that really has to also be included at the forefront. Share your stories. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you can share your experience and your stories, talk about why history matters. Talk about how we repeat the mistakes of the past by denying benefits to veterans, whether it's World War I, whether it's World War II, whether it's right now, today. That is really important. And I know it feels like you don't have much that you can do, and it's frustrating. I know, it's very frustrating. But the more that you can share your stories, keep educating people. Call us, call leadership of the House and the Senate. Call them too and talk about your story. And shouldn't you be doing better by veterans? It's gonna make a difference.
We should be doing better for everybody.
We should be doing absolutely better for everyone. But you've got a powerful story as well as a veteran, because you have sacrificed and served in ways that many Americans and many in these offices have never served, the highest office. Well, it's amazing lessons buried back there in a field no one knew about. Yes. It is. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jun Yamamoto. I am also a veteran, retired too, and I have a answer for the question of what we can do. We can vote for Jill. We definitely can vote for Jill. It will help us. But my question is, since it hasn't, I know the answer,
Okay.
but the question is, how is applying for Social Security been affected in the last year? How has applying for passports been affected in the last year? I mean, is it like it was before? Because I have helped people to come on to Social Security, and I went to the website and it crashes about like 5
Yeah.
times.
Yep.
And then they tell you, you need to get an appointment. And then you try to get an appointment online and it tells you no appointments available. So the only way you can do it is actually physically go, if you live in this area, you go down to Kapolei and physically go to the Social Security office and get an appointment. You can't get it online. So, I mean, how is this more efficient government? It's not.
It's not. No. I mean, how many of you have for Social Security or other issues, waited on a phone to get an answer?
You wait hours.
It's hours. It literally is hours. You know, again, when I talked about the dojing, the cutting of federal employees, this is one of the effects. If you don't have enough people to answer the phones, to be able to line up behind queues and physically help people by taking appointments, you're going to have a huge backlog. Websites will crash. You might remember there was even an email phishing scam that said you had, you know, your check was being stopped, right? And people freaked out. What did it do? They went online, they called, crashed every single system imaginable. There was also a point in which they were talking about to sign up for SSA or to make changes, you had to come in person to verify, because they were claiming that too many people were you know, abusing or faking out the system, right? So you had to come in person to prove that you're G. Yamamoto, right? But we know that's really hard for people to get to a lot of these centers. And imagine living on the neighbor island where they don't even have a physical place.
One other quick question. For people that live in Congressional 1, should we ask them to call up Ed Case's office?
Definitely. We get calls from both. we get constituent calls and we get
the same people
calls.
that I was helping with the Social Security and passport. So the passport, are more people applying now because they realize by their face they got to have a passport card in their pocket, otherwise they get arrested by ICE.
You know, it's really sad. I had a friend visit me in Washington, D.C., and he's a labor union member. He's a Pacific Islander. We grew up together. He pulled out from his jacket his passport. He said, I never thought I'd have to carry this around. I'm an American. But I'm afraid that if I don't have this and I'm walking around Washington, D.C., or I'm going through the airport lines, they're going to pull me aside and question me. So I've got my driver's license, but he literally physically on him pulled out his passport and said, I feel like I need this now.
So the office is probably being flooded right now.
It's
I'm trying to work on somebody else's passport.
So one of the things we do encourage you to do, and like David and Tula, raise their hands back there again, and we have others. Don't worry, these two people are not the only brave souls that will be taking all of your concerns. But I can't tell you, because I sign all the letters when they do help with these things. They help people connect with Passport's office to get issues resolved, because we've had even backlogs where they're waiting for an answer and they're not getting anything. We help with Social Security trying to bridge that gap in terms of getting a human or getting an answer to these things. It was really good that we fought like hell, and even Republicans backed this motion early on. They wanted you, like I said, to come physically to verify who you are. We were able to get them to overturn that decision, because can you imagine the chaos of everyone having to find their way to one of the
And
Social
then you
Security
cut back
sites?
on the amount of offices.
And that it was absolute
At the
chaos.
same time.
And again, Social Security, you earn that benefit. You should be getting that benefit. So if you need help, or the people you're working with need help, please reach out to us and we'll help address the situation. But thank you for that question.
Hello, my name is Kylie Todani. I was born and raised in Wahiawā, and I moved away for a little bit, and I recently had the privilege of buying my first home back close to family again. This is my first town hall, so this is really interesting to watch. My question for you is, considering Hawaii's population of immigrants being one of the highest states, and seeing what's happening in Minnesota, do you think that it is possible for the chaos like that to happen here? And what are you doing to mitigate it?
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you could come home. As the mother of 2 teenage boys, I worry that, our children are becoming our greatest export. And we really need to make sure that we create affordable options, housing you can afford, food that you can be able to pay for, good schools, all these things right here at home. And we need to create a pathway back home, too. So even if you leave, we need you to be able to come back. It is scary when we take a look around at Minneapolis, when we see what they did in Los Angeles and Chicago, so many other places. Can it happen here? The real danger is when they bring outside forces here. I've met a lot of the different CBP and ICE agents here in Hawaii, but the real danger is with people with no connection, no understanding of community, no connection to community. And we're all very close. We're about 1 to 2 degrees of separation at any particular point. But when you fly in, like what you saw in Minneapolis, with thousands of troops from other states with no connection or care for the local community, that's when things can get really bad. Really, really bad. When you increase the number of guns and masked agents in the streets, you're increasing the likelihood of confrontation, violence erupting. We see this. We know this is what could happen. We can't have them coming here to Hawaii. We absolutely can't. And that's why when we fight for those guardrails for CBP and ICE funding, it's because we can't have this continue to spread throughout our country. Because quite frankly, we know too, they're looking at that and they're looking at elections. This is game plan and strategy, practice for, that's the big fear as well. So we've really got to fight to push back against any kind of intrusion into our islands. That's absolutely what we have to do, and fighting against the funding is one very practical way that I can be able to do that. What I'm also doing is I'm going to the Federal Detention Center myself, and with our team, we've spent hours there. I can't tell you the kind of stories that you hear there. And if you don't think it's in Hawaii, we've literally met with people who've disappeared. And I say disappeared because for one individual who English was not his first language, he had no money to be able to make calls out from the Federal Detention Center. He was worried about his stuff. He lived in public housing. He had a job, giving back to the community, had a family, but his family didn't live with him, so he was by himself. I had to call public housing, and I asked him, do you know if anyone's been scooped up by ICE that's a tenant? They said, no one's been scooped up. I said, well, check this name and check this location. And they called me back and said, well, he's 3 months back due on rent. I've got some late fees on his tab. And I said, well, I've got news for you. For the last 3 months, he's been in the Federal Detention Center. Disappeared, like that. Literally pulled from his doorstep, he said. Not sure how he could even, alert his property manager, pick up his last paycheck. This is happening right here to people who go to church with us. I've received letters from pastors and fellow church members, parole officers talking about individuals who they know are detained, suddenly went missing. And so there's a lot we even have to do on the home front now to protect those who are being picked up every single day and detained. So thank you for that question. And
could I ask what we could do if someone, like one of our family members, gets detained and they are legal, to get them out?
Call us as soon as you can. Call us right away. There are agencies as well that are working to help people. Many people can't afford legal representation, and we can't give you legal advice from our office, but we could connect you with folks that can help advocate for their situation. That's probably the best thing that we could do. Again, I wish we could be those lawyers and attorneys going in and try to bust people out, but they are so understaffed, even at this moment. But if you find yourself in a situation where you, a loved one, a colleague, a friend, has been detained, call us, and the best thing we can do is try to get you connected with support and help and people. They'll help you navigate the system of what comes next, right? What kind of appeals are you going to be putting in? All of these different things. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question? I think we have time for at least one more. Or two.
You need a right winger around here. Parts of it, my name's Bob Bretschneider. I live down in Wahiawā Gentry. And back to history, the reason the Japanese got put in internment camps was a Democratic president. And what is an embarrassment. But my question is, the last president opened our borders up. Millions, 10 to 12 million people flooded our country. And if we wouldn't have had that, we wouldn't have an ICE issue. We have to have, how do you have a country if you don't have secure borders? I know he tried this during Reagan. He declared amnesty, but the requirement was we have to close the borders, which didn't happen. So that's my problem. What do we do? How do we become a country if we don't have borders?
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you for that. And I will tell you that I'm all for immigration reform. I'm all for securing our borders. That's not what this is. This is a massive quota to detain and deport 1 million people, supposedly the worst of the very worst, the criminals, the murderers, all of these things. That is not who we are finding. In many cases, Bob, I will tell you, the folks that I've talked to, they're seeking asylum. They were protected status. The moment that Venezuela lost its protected status, tens of thousands of people all of a sudden became illegal. There are many individuals who are on a pathway to citizenship, and because of our broken immigration system, Mr. Wright, it's broken, have been waiting for years and been checking in regularly, every 6 months, every year. And I can tell you right now, they are checking all the boxes. They're paying taxes. They'll never get Social Security, but they're paying into your Social Security, by the way. They're helping you actually get those benefits, all of these things. They were on that legal path to citizenship. And all of a sudden, boom, deported, picked up, detained. I would love immigration reform. In fact, we had a bipartisan bill before this president took office, and he literally said, no, don't pass it. You might remember this situation. The 11th hour, it was pulled because he wanted an immigration crisis that he could then try to solve. This is his answer, but it is not at all about securing borders. Look at all the places he's actually doing this. It's not even near the border. This is not about immigration reform, and we need it. We absolutely 100% need immigration reform. But as I tell folks, what we are seeing right now is just inhumanity and cruelty. It's not border protection, and it's definitely not immigration reform, which all of us can agree we need to have those things, but this is not the answer. So we're going to agree to disagree on this area, except to say that I agree with you. Border security, immigration reform, needed. That in many cases are working the jobs no American would work and putting food on your table and many things. So we're going to look for legal pathways of citizenship, which are part of good immigration reform, by the way. So thank you very much. And I think I can get one more question in, and then.
Real quick, first of all, mahalo nui for coming out to Wahiawā. We love you. We got your back. But maybe you can answer this or address it in your next newsletter. I want to know where you stand on funding for TMT, because you're talking about the other lady that came up. To kill it, we got to kill the funding, what she was talking about. We do not need another telescope on our Mauna, and we will stand for her, and we will fight for her till the very end. So maybe in your next newsletter, you can talk about that, because we do not need any more telescopes on Mauna Kea.
Right,
mahalo. Good to see you, though.
Good to see
Happy
you.
New Year.
Happy New Year. I'm just trying to be respectful of time, because I know we've got school personnel here that's also keeping this open. So if you want to ask a quick question, then I can wrap it into my closing.
I don't know if it's, but my name's Miley. I grew up here, born and raised. I'm really curious. I'm also concerned about democracy, concerned about elections, concerned about ICE. And I wonder if you could say a little bit about how you are seeing that, or a little bit more about how you're seeing that happen in Hawaii and what you see coming for us, like especially with election and election safety and other. I will tell people to call your office if they have trouble. What else can I do here?
Yeah.
Not so much on a national level, but like locally for elections or.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you, Miley. I will tell you, and we've got State Representative Peruso here, we're right in the middle of the legislative session right now. Bills are slowly getting to that crossover point, I think, but a lot of them still alive. There's a lot of bills directly looking at protecting our democracy, whether it's saying that you cannot have masked individuals, right, in our streets. Votes, you know, there's bills, I believe, and I'm not there in the legislature anymore, but bills to actually protect our elections, security, all of those things, the integrity of our election process. There's a lot floating around, but the good part is it's all kind of filtering out, and I pray many of them stay alive. I would track down those bills, and to the extent they're able to provide written testimony if you can't go in, verbal testimony if you're able to participate, you know, speak your voice right there at the state capitol. It's really important that we attack this at every single level. There are state and county measures as well, taking a look at whether or not they will have law enforcement corroborate with ICE and CBP, right? I don't know if we've got a reso coming up in the Honolulu City Council, but I've seen it on some of the other islands. Anything you can do to raise your voice up and participate in the process, whether it's at the county level or the state level, absolutely. We've got to be doing this all in tandem with the fighting we're doing at the federal level. But I see the state, and I was talking to Rep. Peruso and some of her colleagues earlier today, they're really our front line, right? They're really there to make sure that as things start to fall apart at the federal level, it is about keeping Hawaii safe, you know, keeping that aloha there. And so definitely suggest participate in the state process. And Rep, do you want to say anything?
I do. Thank you so much. And I just want to say that we are trying to fast track some bills specifically related to protecting our community around ICE and the immigration issues, and also our elections. So please look for, you can subscribe to my newsletter, representativeamyperuso.com, or follow me on Instagram. I have pretty frequent, like daily updates about these kinds of measures. So thank you so much for letting folks know how to connect.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a great thing to do right now. Help them out at the legislature, even when it passes, making sure nothing gets vetoed, right? I mean, all of these, there's different points in which bills die. I've been there. You need to just help give it life by showing your support for our representatives and our state senators that are doing a lot right now. So thank you for that question. Oh, well, this is not a campaign. I know I'm here earning it back every single day. After? Okay, perfect. So again, thank you so much to all of you for being here, for being willing to open up your hearts, to share your mana'o with all of us. Thank you for what many of you do right now in the community. Thank you for the service so many of you have given our country. We got to do better. We have to do a lot better than what we are seeing right now. But I really appreciate town halls like this. This is where I get a lot of my energy, our inspiration, our direction on what we should do. I can't tell you actually how many bills we've introduced now or working on because of town halls like this. And so thank you so much for participating. Please contact our office if we can support you. And can you help me give a hand to my team who is out there every day? They're scattered around here, but we can't do it by ourselves. And so I just really want to thank them for all of the hard work they put in. Thank you to Wahiawā Elementary for always opening their doors to us. And we have Olelo TV in the back as well, who has been filming this the entire time. So please keep warm. It's really cold outside, considering we're in Hawaii. Yeah. Be safe, and I can't wait to see you folks out there in the community again. Mahalo, everyone.